It's Friday, May 1st. In the headlines, Member of Parliament Dr. Angela Brown-Burke admits misconduct in Parliament but defends National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority Bill transparency concerns. And the company's Office of Jamaica to launch mobile app to improve business services. In business news, Mayberry Investments expands bond offer to investors. Regionally, Gaston Brown wins landslide victory as ABLP secures 15 seats in snap election. And in sports, Shanoya Douglas set for 100 meters and 200 meters double at Puma East Coast Showcase. This is the weekend news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Member of Parliament for Southwest St. Andrew, Dr. Angela Brown-Burke, has acknowledged that her behavior during Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives fell short of parliamentary standards. Speaking on Thursday at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, Brown-Burke admitted her conduct was inappropriate during the marathon debate on the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority Bill. The sitting was disrupted when the opposition MP removed the parliamentary mace from its stand in protest.
I start by accepting that my actions on Tuesday did not accord with acceptable parliamentary procedure. I also acknowledge under the circumstances that the decision of the House is in keeping with the standing orders.
Despite the incident, Brown-Burke says she does not want the matter to overshadow her concerns about what she describes as a lack of transparency in the implementation of the NARA. When established, the authority will act as a single point of coordination to accelerate infrastructure development following the destruction left by Hurricane Melissa. Vice President and General Manager of Flow Jamaica, Stephen Price, is backing the National Reconstruction and Resilience Authority, citing the need to eliminate bureaucratic delays hindering major infrastructure projects. Speaking at the 20th Annual Conference of the Organization of Caribbean Utility Regulators in Trelawney this week, Price said the legislation could help fast-track critical developments and improve efficiency. He, however, stressed that broader regulatory reforms are needed to keep pace with the demands of modern telecommunications, noting that regulators must play a greater role in facilitating progress. The company's Office of Jamaica is set to launch a mobile app aimed at improving access to business services and enhancing customer convenience. CEO and Registrar Shelley Leon says the app is part of the agency's digital transformation strategy and will provide reminders for annual returns and business name renewals, helping companies remain compliant with statutory requirements. The platform will also allow users to track the status of submitted documents in real time and request service tickets before visiting COJ offices, reducing wait times. Ms. Leon says the app is designed to address long-standing concerns about delays and accessibility, while complementing the agency's growing suite of online services, including business registration and filings. The launch date for the app is expected to be announced later this year. 3 Jamaican students with special needs are leaving the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica with new skills, new confidence, and real workplace experience. The teens, aged 17 to 19 from Best Care Special Education School, recently completed a 3-week work placement that saw them training in production and professional development, an initiative aimed at helping them transition into the world of work. We have more from Denida Rodney.
The students received hands-on training in pre- and post-production elements along with coaching in public speaking, resume writing, and interview preparation. At the closing ceremony, acting CEO at the PBCJ, Maurice Marshall, praised the students and shared how their training quickly proved valuable.
These very students helped us to avert a mini crisis. We had a situation where the Parliament had gone all night the night before until 2 o'clock the following morning. So we had staff at the Parliament from 10 o'clock in the day, and they worked straight until 2 o'clock the next morning. Then we had 2 other events that happened in the morning, so we're short-staffed. And so it was these students from the Best Care facility that were able to work with Mrs. Simone Absalom Gale to actually shoot and record the news. Come on, give them a hand, give them a hand, give them a hand.
In her address, Chief Technical Director Dr. Nicola Ann Brown-Pinnock of the Ministry of Education lauded the initiative.
This work experience program by the PBCJ is a clear signal that this organization is willing to look beyond the borders and labels to provide opportunities for young Jamaicans, enabling them to prepare for the next stage of their lives. PBCJ, by your action, you have proven that you too are truly special.
Board Chairman of Best Care, Orville Johnson, also shared his thoughts.
I feel great about what has happened here because we have a vision to have us having a Center of Excellence for Special Education in Jamaica. And part of it is that we want them to be the best that they can do in spite of whatever challenges they have. But more importantly, as many of them who can transition from school into some kind of work is a very important part of what we have been doing. So this fits right into that process.
In her vote of thanks, 17-year-old student Alicia Scarlett said the experience boosted her confidence.
You have inspired so many people around the world, including me. Before I coming here, I often feel negative thoughts about myself, but this experience have helped me see my own potential and feel proud of who I am. Thank you once more for your time, your guidance, your encouragement. Have a wonderful day.
The ceremony also drew support from the National Council for Persons with Disabilities, Shortwood Teachers College, and the Randolph Lopez School of Hope. Reporting for the news on PBCJ, I am Denida Rodney.
Stress can be detrimental to your health, and as such, it is of importance that we find coping mechanisms. Chanel Matthews took to the streets to find out how people handle their stress.
How do you cope with stress?
I cope with stress by being with nature. I like to read, talking to my friends, listening to music. For nature, immediately I come to Hope Gardens, surrounded by the beautiful trees, the birds making noise, and just walking around, relieving that type of stress, taking deep breaths, exhaling and stuff like that. I like to read self-awareness books that teaches me where I can learn something from to grow myself and my mind and how I deal with people, because my job is stressful, so I need that to alleviate that type of stress when dealing with people.
I'm a gamer, so I tend to game a lot, playing FIFA, Call of Duty sometimes on my phone. Sometimes I watch some reels, IG, YouTube. It's good to have some comedic relief in your life, so laugh a little. Yeah, that's pretty much how I handle my stress.
To be honest, I listen to music, play video games, sometimes I drink. But drinking is not the right way, I learned that since lately, so the stress will still be there. So sometimes you have to just speak to a good friend who you can trust, talk about it, relax, pray. Yeah, and listen to music. Music is life, Yes.
Stress can drive you insane. once it gets to you mentally, it will take advantage of you. So I try to put everything in God's hand and handle it the best way I can, step by step, slowly but surely. I try to focus on what's most important and avoid letting it get the best of me.
With me, I always listen to music. If it is not country music, reggae music, pop, soul, anything that I am a music girl, so I always listen to music and those stuff. So that is how I cope with stress.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing you the development shaping markets, capital access, and business decision-making across Jamaica and the region. Let's get into the stories that matter. Mayberry Investments today upsized its 2.06 billion Jamaican dollar secured bond offering to 3 billion Jamaican dollars. An additional $938.7 million is now available for subscription from the invitation, which closes May 11, 2026, having opened on April 13. The bond will mature in 18 months after issue and carry a fixed coupon of 10.5% per annum. The fixed income instruments offers a hedge against the declining local stock market affected by the high interest rate macro economy. Mayberry says the proceeds will be used to repay in full its existing 10.75% secured bonds due this year of equivalent size. The $3 billion raked in from this bond will be used to pay off existing obligations, giving Mayberry breathing space as it looks for the local equities market to stage a recovery. For the trading period of April 30, 2026, the most actively traded securities were Wigton Energy Limited with 66,554,858 units, representing 69.93% of market sales activity. Kentai Holdings Jamaica Limited with 5,308,470 units represent 8.36% of market sales activities. Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with 3,250,427 units representing 3.42% of market sales activities. Investor activity remained concentrated in solar energy, transportation, and distribution plays, signaling continued interest in dividend-producing and strategic assets. Turning to the foreign exchange market based on Bank of Jamaica data for April 30, 2026. Forex traders recorded significant activity with strong demand across major currencies. For the US dollar, trading margins reflected steady liquidity, with the US selling at $156.62 and buying at $158.16. The Canadian dollar had moderate gains supported by $1.59 transaction spreads. The Canadian dollar sold for $115.89 and was bought for $114.30. For the British pound, continued volatility offered short-term trading opportunities of $2.52 in profits for the banks. The British pound sold for $212.47 and was bought for $209.95. These movements underscore the importance of cash flow timing and currency awareness for businesses managing import costs, debt servicing, or overseas exposure. For our credit report tip of the day, in your 70s, should your children have access to your credit score? If that comes up, here's how to handle it. By your 70s, the focus shifts from building to protecting and managing what you've already built. So when children ask for access to your credit score or your financial information, it's not a simple yes or no. It's a decision that requires structure, boundaries, and clarity. So here's how to handle it the right way. Before sharing anything, understand why they're asking. Your credit report is tied to your identity. Sharing unrestricted access can expose you to risk, even unintentionally. You can share information without giving up control. If support is genuinely needed, formalize it properly. So your action is to consider a power of attorney for financial matters. You can also define exactly what decisions they can and cannot make. Put everything in writing with legal guidance, because good intentions are not a substitute for clear authority. Your children may want to help, and in many cases that support is valuable. But the goal is not to hand over control. It's to create a system where support exists alongside protection. And that's today's Business Report. I'm Denise Williams, bringing clarity to capital markets and strategy. Until next time, stay informed, stay intentional, and keep building forward. See you soon.
In regional news, Prime Minister Gaston Brown has secured a decisive victory in Antigua and Barbuda's general election after calling the poll nearly 2 years ahead of schedule. Preliminary results indicate Brown's ruling Antigua and Barbuda Labour Party won 15 of the 17 seats, a significant improvement from its narrow 9-7 win in January 2023. In a message to supporters, Brown expressed gratitude for the strong mandate, pledging to continue advancing the country's socio-economic development. He says his administration remains committed to expanding opportunities in education, employment, and business, while ensuring no citizen is left behind. Addressing supporters, he emphasized unity and productivity, urging citizens to take advantage of the opportunities as the government pushes ahead with ongoing national development projects.
This great organization should continue to be a church. There is a space for everyone who wants to contribute to nation building. And as I've said from time to time, no one will be left behind. We are all sons and daughters of this land. Let us not forget that. Though we are comrades, we are all sons and daughters of this land. This country is our mother. She does not discriminate among her children, and neither should we.
The Caribbean community is warning against any move that could legitimize Venezuela's claim to Guyana's territory after a protest from President Irfan Ali. The concern was triggered when Venezuela's acting leader, Delcy Rodriguez, wore a brooch showing the Essequibo region as Venezuelan during official CARICOM visits.
CARICOM, in a statement issued Tuesday, acknowledged concerns raised by President Irfan Ali over the public display of material asserting Venezuela's claim to Guyana's Essequibo region. The issue stems from recent engagements within CARICOM member states, where Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, wore a brooch featuring a map that includes Essequibo. President Ali described the move as provocative and warned that such symbolism could be interpreted as acceptance of Venezuela's claim. In response, CARICOM reaffirmed that while member states have the sovereign right to engage external partners, those engagements must align with the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas and the community's collective obligations. The regional body made it clear that its platforms must not be used, directly or indirectly, to legitimize claims currently before the International Court of Justice. CARICOM also reiterated its long-standing and unwavering support for Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity, maintaining that the border controversy must be resolved peacefully through the judicial process. The dispute over Essequibo remains before the International Court of Justice, with Guyana insisting the matter be settled under international law. Travis Chase, HGP Nightly News.
Belize has made regional history in the fight against HIV and AIDS. For the first time, the International AIDS Society has brought one of its symposiums to Belize. marking the event's debut in Central America. The two-day conference united health experts, community leaders, and advocates to strengthen the national response and close remaining gaps. More in this News 5 Belize report.
Belize is getting better at finding HIV, but we're still struggling to finish the job. Health officials say about 80% of people living with HIV now know their status, a big step forward. But the numbers drop sharply after that. Only half stay consistent with their medication, and just 1/3 reach viral suppression, the point where the virus becomes undetectable and can't be passed on through sex. Those gaps, diagnosis, treatment, and suppression, are exactly what pushed today's conference to the forefront, not just to talk about progress, but to figure out why so many people still fall through the cracks and how to keep them in care.
Belize does have a concentrated epidemic among men who have sex with men and men and their sexual partners. We have to reach out to the specific vulnerable groups in order to have success. So today, we're very excited because the science is being presented to us, but also there will be further discussion as to how we can accelerate not only the prevention but also the treatment of HIV, so that by 2030 we can perhaps not be 100% successful, but be able to bring down HIV being a public health threat.
One of the tools generating the most conversation at the conference is the HIV self-test kit, a simple mouth swab that people can use in the privacy of their own home, designed specifically for those who fear stigma and discrimination. Eva Burgos, Executive Director for Go Hoven Belize, explained why that matters on the ground.
For example, the self-testing approach, that's in Belize. For us, it's innovating and it's different. This is like the second year that we've been kind of approaching that way of for individuals to get tested. And in the communities, how it impacts the community is that sometimes they don't go to a health center to know their status. So we can give you that self-test kit so that you can do it at the comfort of your own space. And this enables you to know your status.
From the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Joshua Canole stressed that today's conference is not just about medicine. It is about breaking down the walls that keep people from seeking help in the first place and reminding Belizeans that HIV in 2026 is a manageable condition.
So we believe that we do need more support from the community and for people to understand that people with HIV is just like you, just like me, and it's just like another disease like hypertension and diabetes. Hypertension and diabetes can be treated. HIV too, and I would bet that HIV most of the times are easier treated than hypertension and diabetes. 1 pill a day, and that makes you undetectable. Undetectable means you can't transmit the virus, which means that I could have a partner even if I'm HIV positive and I don't transmit it to them if I'm on my medications. And my partner, if I'm not, could be on PrEP, which is a medication you take before, and it prevents you from getting HIV.
Also at the conference was social media personality and trans community advocate Melvin Cortez, known widely as La Bestie, who spoke about using his platform to break down the stigma that still keeps many Belizeans from getting tested.
I have the privilege to have a speech tomorrow, be a speaker on the conference, whereby I'm going to advocate for my community, which is the trans community, the cons, the pros, the cons, and all my experiences when it comes to how her life has been as a trans member, including my experiences with, people around the HIV community, people who may be dealing with that, how my platform can bring awareness when it comes to that topic in my country.
With new tools, stronger partnerships, and a focus on community outreach, stakeholders say the goal is clear. Get more Belizeans tested, treated, and ultimately bring HIV under control. Reporting for News 5, I am Zenaida Lanza.
Trinidad and Tobago's economic outlook received a major boost on Thursday as the government formalized its partnership with the World Bank Group, the world's leading development institution. In a historic signing ceremony, Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar finalized an agreement to establish permanent World Bank Group offices in Trinidad and Tobago.
A significant milestone for the nation's economic future was reached on Thursday as the government officially signed an agreement paving the way for a World Bank Group presence on local soil. Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar said the move fulfills a commitment made to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed, that work gives us every confidence that the better days we promised are now indeed within reach. At the heart of this progress lies the principle that guides our government. As I've affirmed, the foundation of good governance rests on a simple but powerful idea. Promises made must be promises kept.
The Division Director of the International Finance Corporation, Elizabeth Ann McCartney, said a local World Bank office will provide both the public and private sectors with real-time access to policy data, technical expertise and project support tailored specifically to Trinidad and Tobago.
This establishment agreement is the foundation that will deepen collaboration between the government and the World Bank Group and enable expanded engagement aligned with the country's national priorities, focused on fostering economic growth, creating jobs, and building a nation where families thrive, young people succeed, and communities grow stronger through responsible governance and forward-thinking policies and initiatives.
The Prime Minister echoed these sentiments, noting that the physical presence of the World Bank groups represents a strong vote of confidence in this country's economy.
For decades, TNT has relied heavily on the energy sector, and I dare say that we will continue to rely on the energy sector, because when you have a competitive advantage, you must use that competitive advantage, and we do have that advantage in the energy sector. So while that sector remains vital, there is a need to expand into non-energy industries.
Beyond diversification, the Prime Minister highlighted that this partnership signals to the global investors that Trinidad and Tobago is a stable, credible destination backed by a respected multinational institution.
This opportunity also signals to the global investors that TNT is open for business, that TNT is a stable and credible investment destination backed by a backed by a very respected multinational institution, the World Bank Group. In addition, this agreement enhances our resilience in global challenges, two global challenges, where we confront climate change, economic shocks, or public health risks. Small island developing states like ours require strong institutional partnerships.
The physical presence of the World Bank is expected to act as a permanent seal of approval for Trinidad and Tobago, aimed at attracting new foreign investment and securing the nation's place on the global financial stage. Faith Chariot, TTT News.
In sports, we're on the tracks. Jamaican sprint star Shania Douglas is set to compete in both the 100 meters and 200 meters at the 5th staging of the Puma East Coast International Showcase at Morgan State University in Maryland on Saturday. Douglas, the world under-20 leader in both events, will be making her first individual appearance since capturing the sprint double at the Carifta Games, where she set a Jamaican under-20 record of 22.11 seconds in the 200 meters. The meet is expected to feature more than 1,200 top high school athletes from across the United States and the Caribbean competing in track and field events. Jamaican schools, including Holland High, Jamaica College, Excelsior High, and St. Andrew High School for Girls are also scheduled to participate. And that's the weekend news here on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.